Ginger Greg Long with Avalon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Well, thanks so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm from Texas, so you're my people.
Oh, yeah. Where are you from in Texas?
I'm from a little town northeast of Dallas, so about
Gotcha.
You're in the Houston area, right?
Yeah, we're just north of Houston, up in the Woodland.
Yeah, you're probably about 4 hours from me where you're at.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, you get to the south part of Dallas in about 3 hours, and then it takes to get through Dallas. It takes another hour.
And you know, when I came down to visit my family, one of the last couple times I did, Hurricane Harvey hit, and I literally left the night that everyone else was like getting flights from like Houston. They were driving up getting flights out of DFW, and I literally flew out that night, and they said had I not, I wouldn't have got a flight out for days. And I was I mean, and so we were there when, we got the winds and the rain and everything in Dallas, but we didn't get everything else. But I had friends in Houston. I saw one of my friends on TV, like it was them and their dog and in a canoe, or a boat, like being rescued. Like it was so scary.
Yeah, it's a devastating time, and I was just telling somebody earlier today that we're a little over a year from it. We still have people that are not back in their businesses and not back in their homes yet. It's just there was just so much that it's taken for everybody to get to. It's just taken an unreal amount of time. But for the most part, life is back to normal for most people. So that's great.
So I've been this is like the greatest like tour because it's got like every single person or band is somebody I have grew up loving. I grew up in the 80s, so pretty much everybody on the tour I have caught them on at least, in their early years and been able to follow along. So it's kind of like a jukebox of my favorites, like in Time Machine. Like,
and I feel the same way. I mean, when my friend Eddie Carswell from New Song and of course the Winter Jam tours, when he called me and said, "Hey, Greg, here's what we're thinking about. What do you think about this idea?" And I said, "I love it." I said, I've often actually wondered about that because in mainstream music, you have so many acts that you get to hear them. They get to go tour 20. I just saw where Journey finished their tour up, and they had amazing crowds because you have enough people in mainstream music to have crowds 30 years later. But here we are 20 years later, and or around there, 15, 20 years later, and I think it's just a lot of fun to hear Point of Grace and Butterfly Kiss. And I got when Butterfly Kisses came out, I didn't have any kids. Now I've got 3 daughters, so I told somebody I'm going to probably cry every night hearing Butterfly Kisses now.
My daughters haven't got married yet, but I told them, I said, there's no daddy dance to that. Mama's getting that. Like,
I don't have it. That's right. I haven't gotten there either. My oldest is 14, but I literally have my youngest come up and sit in my lap before she goes, give me a big hug. And so, it's going to be a special night of hearing so many songs. And, and pretty much if a person listened to Christian radio, the great thing about this tour is you're probably going to know the way it's been set up. Nobody's getting to do their new music. We're just doing hit songs. So you're probably going to know pretty much about every song that's done the whole night. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
And I tell Bob, I said, I think you should get like a free tissue box with every ticket, because a lot of people, if you haven't heard some of these songs in a while, it's going to really stir things up.
I agree. I think that part. I think God uses music. In mainstream music, people have certain feelings and emotions that go with it. But with Christian music, it carries a message of the gospel and of the hope of Christ with it. I think it's even deeper than that. And so a lot of these songs, when you hear "I Can't Live a Day," Janice starts singing "I Can't Live a Day Without You." Well, that may take you back to a certain point in your life where Now, that song meant something a lot, maybe in your walk with Christ, maybe with what you were going through in your personal life or whatever. When that song begins, or let's say "Everything to Me," one of our songs,
Yeah.
maybe that's another one of those, or "Testify to Love," or "Adonai," whatever. Whenever you hear these songs, it usually communicates back to a time in your life, and we never know what those moments are. But as the song "Adonai" says, you are maker of each moment, and he certainly is, and we're glad to be able to hop on the tour bus with our other friends and artists, and Your Point of Grace, and New Song, and of course Nicole and Rebecca St. James, Bob Carlo. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're actually looking forward to it ourselves.
Well, and you have a new member, Danny Roca, right?
We do. We actually had last month. We had what we called a relaunch. Not a relaunch. We called it the Next Chapter. And Danny Roca is a new member with us. And of course, the big news for Avalon friends who've been with us for a long time is our original member Jody McBrayer is back after being gone more than 10 years. Jody, as we say, Jody Mac is back, and so we're so happy to have Jody Mac back with us. And this is going to be honestly, this is the first this tour that we're coming there to Atlanta on Woodstock. This is the first tour that we've had the Next Chapter. We had Jody back with us, so a lot of our friends, Avalon friends and listeners from years past, are really excited about hearing Jody back with us again, and we're excited about it as well.
And I think a lot of the music on this tour, because the mainstream of Christian music right now, it's kind of all over the place, from hip hop and the new Southern sound, and like you're just so inundated with all these different styles, but most people don't know the Avalon, Point of Grace, and all that styles unless they go to a specific conference where they might be playing or something. But there's so much of that does not get played anymore. And so I hope this kind of reignites some people to say, you know what, we should be playing more of this stuff again, because there's something so powerful about groups like yours where you might have someone singing a certain part, and then when everybody joins in and it just swells. I mean, it is such an incredible experience. And looking through the hits, I can't pick a favorite, because I love you guys singing Another Time, Another Place. That's just one of those songs, and and you guys really did an amazing version of that song. And it's so hard to narrow one down, because, well, you guys started in 96, right?
Right.
Well, my kids were born in 94, 95, and 98. So
wow, special time.
Yeah, I was a mom, so a lot of that, so I'm sure you probably helped me get over, kindergarten or whatever, and now they're in their 20s. So it's amazing that I'm so glad. I like you calling it the Next Chapter. And I don't think what people that want to know, like, when are you touring and all that, I don't think they realize you and your wife are on staff at Woodlands Church in Texas. That's not so easy to do 200 dates a year.
Yeah, we this Christmas we will celebrate 9 years here at Woodlands Church, just north of Houston, and we're staff worship leaders here. And of course, that cuts down on the touring, so we don't do. It's a little more tricky now for the Avalon listener to actually get to hear us live, because it limits the number of weekends that we're out, and so that makes for us this tour even a little more special, because we're going to be doing 7 cities in 2 weekends, and going over. You've got, of course, Atlanta there, and Woodstock, Birmingham, Alabama, Dallas, Texas. I'm trying to think of all the cities there.
Well, at least Dallas is driving distance.
The main one you're concerned about is Woodstock.
Right.
That's where we're coming.
Yeah, but, well, hey, I have a lot of family that'll probably be at the one in Dallas.
Great.
My mom was a huge fan of yours, and I have a lot of family that we all kind of grew up in when Christian music was, when we barely had anyone out there except for Stephen Curtis Chapman and Amy Grant and Michael English, and I was a huge fan of Rich Mullins. You know, during the you know, from the 80s up, you know, we there in the beginning, I don't think people realize what a banquet they have to sample from now. You know, there's so much of it, and it's hard to choose. You know, I have a 3-hour radio show, but you know, it's like hard to pick and choose, you know, even though there's 15 hours in a week, you know, it's hard to narrow that down into singles. And I don't talk that much. I mean, I do in general because I'm from Texas, but on my show, I only talk a little bit in between songs. So the most I talk is when I do interviews like this. So, anyways, I'm so glad that you guys are. I'm so glad that you're going to be on it, and I'm so happy about Jody McBrayer. I would call him J Mac. Or no, I mean, cause you know, because everybody's going with the J, you know, like J Lo and stuff. You know, tell me he can be J Mac.
There we go. I like it.
But I think it's been 12 years since he was part of Avalon. Is that right? Something like that.
Right around there. Right around there somewhere. Mm-hmm.
So
not too far off.
I'm so excited for and to hear Danny. I've not heard Danny sing with you guys, so I think it'll bring all the Avalon favorites, but then everybody will kind of get to hear a little bit of what they haven't heard a while from J Mac, and then then you know, having a new member. And I hope that you guys, as much as you can, continue to do music. I understand, you know, you have younger kids too. It's not that easy to just pick up, you know, if they play any sports at all, you can't move.
Yep, all three of my girls are into volleyball right now, so it's keeping us busy, that's for sure, Ginger. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think Jacksonville, Florida is the first night of tour, and then there in Atlanta at Woodstock is the second night of the tour. So we're looking forward to it. We hope everybody can come out. I should say the website for us is avalonlive.org, and on social media, Instagram and Twitter, it's Avalon the Group. And then Facebook, it's just facebook.com/Avalon. So please come and check it out. We hope you get to see it.